Goth women. One of the most sought after archetypes of women in the modern dating landscape. People online constantly proclaiming that, "Unga, me want goth girlfriend." But no one ever stops to ask the real question. Unga, why me want goth girlfriend? And I, a humble ape among apes, have decided to venture past that initial question, to peel back the fishnets and eyeliner and ask, not just why do men want goth girlfriends, but how that desire was planted in our monkey brains in the first place. Because you're not born with goth girl cravings. You don't just spawn in wanting someone in platform boots and trust issues. That preference is developed, shaped by your experiences, media, and a suspiciously high number of cartoon characters. So join me as we explore what I can only describe as a full-blown outbreak, a mass goth girl psychosis. Phase 1! Fear of the unknown! Now, what's something that'll almost always guarantee a jump scare out of old people? And before you say people of color and or accountability, which are both good answers, I was actually hoping you'd say things they don't understand, which is exactly what goth culture was in the late 90s. Dark clothes, edgy music, colored hair, and enough black makeup to make people question whether it's a stylistic choice or they were just gay. Whatever it was, it couldn't be left unchecked. These hormonal teenagers are listening to music about being sad and how they don't fit in. Ew, gross! Put on the Beatles, little bro. It got to the point where the adults at the time, the boomers, viewed them as devil-worshipping, self-harming weirdos. Which, don't get me wrong, some of them were, but that's like saying all black teens at the time were rapping, gang-banging, and evil doers. Which, don't get me wrong, some of them were. But these stigmas trickled down to their children, which resulted in a majority of outsiders finding alternative culture creepy and dangerous, which in turn made most subcultures be heavily targeted for bullying in schools. If you want an honest representation of how goth teens were viewed, just turn to South Park's portrayal of them.
Hey! We aren't vampire kids, we're freaking goth!
So lame. So lame.
Now, the 90s ended with a pretty significant blow to alternative culture. I don't think I can say the name of the event, but it was a battle royale in a place of education. And due to the offenders' known alternative lifestyle, as well as their clothing choices during said event, it wasn't the greatest look for the average alt teen. That's also kind of why there's a stigma around trench coats and edgy clothing, and why everyone says to be cool with the quiet kid, cause there's a chance that he'll probably spare you after Swiss cheesing the popular girl Stacy. And if our research ended there, we wouldn't even be here. But thankfully, some people appreciated the culture for what it was. And the great thing about younger minds, they're very impressionable. Yeesh, that made me sound like a Minecraft YouTuber. Phase 2! Planting the seeds! One of the wildest things about being a kid is that your brain is essentially a blank Google Doc. You're just out here absorbing everything around you. Shows, people, chaos. In your earlier years, those are prime real estate for identity building. And nestled in all that early influence were the cartoons. Now, a lot of people will say that the early to mid 2000s were the peak of animated shows, which isn't insane to say, cause Disney, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon were smashing it at the time, all pumping out new and original series with one key element in common: alternative women. See, those people that viewed the culture in a more positive light were also the same ones producing the shows for the next generation, giving all of us youngins subliminal goth woman exposure. Teen Titans, Total Drama Island, Danny Phantom, and Kim Possible all releasing around the same time and dropping different archetypes of goth and alternative women. Raven was the quiet, mysterious, and sarcastic type that came off creepy but actually had a good heart and liked helping people, all while dealing with her issues of being the daughter of a demon. She also had them legs out and God damn! I see why I am the way I am today. And don't even get me started on Blackfire. Teen Titans had the perfect balance of girls to crush on, because Starfire was there for the guys that liked cute bubbly girls, and Raven was there for the people that didn't. I can't forget about my girl Jinx though. Gwen was the goth girl that was tossed into the summer camp scenario, not being like Raven where she was quiet and mysterious, but more of an artsy, dorky type, being smart and independent, while also having a soft spot for the people she cares about. She was also bad as hell! Like I was 6 years old, and I could see the top of her boobies, which was enough for me. Sam from Danny Phantom was my personal favorite though. She was one of the earliest cartoon examples we had of the liberal goth girl archetype, being that childhood friend you grow up with that you eventually fall for. I would like to point out though, this man Danny Phantom was a demon. Man went from a Latina to an ebony queen and ended off with a goth girl. This is why he's the GOAT. She wasn't really like goth, but she was like alt coded. Like come on, black lipstick and a latex suit, and she sounded bad as hell.
Oh no, I'm just admiring your little electromagneto whatchamahooey.
These women, along with the rise in popularity of alternative bands like MCR and Paramore, were some of the most essential building blocks for structuring this generation's down badness for alternative women, giving us soft entry points into the culture without scaring us off with all the crazier stuff. With all these media forms combined, we began to see a slow yet noticeable shift in the perception of alternative culture. Phase 3! The Tumblr effect! Now, if you were a mentally ill girl in her early to late teens in the 2010s, 9 times out of 9, you would have found yourself on Tumblr. And this platform, good God. This wasn't just some random website. Tumblr was ground zero for the explosion of alternative culture. I genuinely cannot put into words how essential this digital hell site was for shaping the cultural landscape we have today. Like every goth, emo, and vaguely depressed aesthetic pipeline went through Tumblr. The GIFs, the sad poetry, the pastel gore art, and the random Tim Burton quotes. This place was the melting pot of every dysfunctional coping mechanism turned into a personality trait. The core ideas that built the I can fix her archetype, the romanticizing of instability, and the she's not crazy, she's just misunderstood. Yeah, all of that started here. Tumblr was the literal factory that mass-produced the first wave of alt girls. The original batch. The, over 25 and wearing fishnets to, Trader Joe's class of women. They walked so the e-girls of today could run. And for better or worse, mostly worse, this platform made being emotionally unwell look mystical. Like your trauma made you beautiful. And don't get me wrong, these women are so fine! But that's the psychosis, people! This is what I'm saying! Which leads us to today. Phase 4. Goth Girl Psychosis. Alternative culture is the mainstream now. Like, it's become one with the jungle. The term goth has basically become synonymous for any kind of alt aesthetic. Grunge, emo, punk, fucking, and that one girl that wears fishnets and self-diagnoses herself. Oh, I've been calling them goth this entire video when this is what a literal goth actually looks like. And with the advent of TikTok and Instagram, the exposure of the common man to hot goth mommies has skyrocketed. These apps basically serve goth women to your For You page on a silver platter. What used to be a niche, ridiculed, and even feared subculture has now become something that's sexualized, idolized, and basically worshipped. All because it was subliminally hardwired into our brains at an early age. And like, can you even blame us? These women are fine as hell! So now, every man with a pulse and a phone has fallen victim to the same spell. A global case of goth girl psychosis. That's all I got though. I hope you enjoyed my down bad scientific breakdown of why we're all geeking out about dommy goth mommies today. If you enjoy this type of autistic freaky content, then consider giving me a like and subscribing. It would mean a lot. That's all I got though. Bye bye!
You should follow Zeno now!